Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Hansu, and today what we want to share is how we grow devil's ivy. Devil's ivy is, I would say, one of the most easy care indoor plants. If you're a plant beginner or if you're looking for a plant for friends, then I would say devil's ivy is one of the easiest care plant. It can grow very well in bright to shady spot, and also watering once in a week is fine. But besides of that, let's more know about this plant. This plant botanical name is so this plant name is Epipeurium aureum, but more often it's just called Photos, devil's ivy, or Indian money plant. Many people are growing this one to enjoy the trailing effect, or even they put the stake together and then let them grow upward. Devil's ivy generally has 4 different types. One is most commonly known as golden photo, but I just generally call it just devil's ivy. That one has a little bit of plain green color, but also sometimes has a yellow variegated foliage. And the other one is that one. It's called neon photo or Goldilocks. It generally doesn't really have a variegation, but has very light and neon color. Personally, I really like it. That too is very easy to care. But the other one, this one is called Devil's Ivy Snow Queen. It has green and white variation, and also the other photo is this one. Devil's Ivy Marble Queen. Devil's Ivy Marble Photo and Snow Queen. These two plants has very wide variation, but also what I personally think is, in my experience, I found that this two is slightly tricky than the other two. But anyway, let's talk about it later. They generally grow very well in a bright room, but also we can grow them in a very shady area too. Of course, because it's plant, that's why they require minimum light. But what I found is that even though when I grow them in a very dark area, we haven't experienced any big trouble. But this golden photo and marble queen and snow queen, that's 3 plant, there is high chance that it can lose the variegation, but still it will perform pretty well in a shady spot either. So I would say for the light condition, bright to shady area. But if you want them to encourage them to grow a little faster or want to see lots of variegation, then I would say bright to medium light. So about the watering, we generally give water once in a week to once in 10 days. Because about this plant, mostly the problem is caused by overwater. So to prevent to overwater, personally I would say when you give water, just take out the plant from the pot and then put in a balcony and then give water several times. In that way, all the soil can be wet enough. And like this, just let them stay in a balcony for a while so all the excessive water can be drained. Then arrange to just bring it back to the pot. In that way, we can make sure the plant is not sitting in the water, and then it's not gonna be damage the plant. Speaking of the watering, what in my experience what I found is like Snow Queen or Marble Photo, that plant is also in the same way watering is fine for them. But one more thing to more care about is like these plants are, when I give the tap water, white part of the foliage tends to become brown. So I'll say when you give this kind of plant like marble or snow king photo, I would recommend to give filtered water instead of the tap water. About the fertilizer, generally this plant doesn't really much require fertilizer. Sometimes I forget to give them fertilizer, but they still perform very well. But for me, I always prefer to let them encourage to growing more and more. So fertilizer once in 2 months. But during the crop season, generally the plant is not really growing well, so that's why we are not giving fertilizer during the winter time. Propagating devil's ivy is actually very easy. Of course, we can propagate devil's ivy without dividing when there's more than 2 stems. For me, like that. And you see, there's one stem and the other stem. At the time, we always can divide the root and then plant in a different pot. In that way, we can do propagating too. But what we generally do for the propagation is leaf cutting. So this is the leaf cutting that we have been doing recently. I had done them for around 3 weeks ago, and now they already have a full root. It's about the time to change the word, but anyway, I just wanted to show you. So that's the leaf cutting, and then I'll show you how we do the leaf cutting in a minute later. And so generally what we do about the propagating is we generally propagate. We cut the foliage a little bit and then put in the water to let them more having a root. And once they have a little bit of established root, then we are generally put them in a soil and let them grow like that. So those things like our propagating one. Now I'll show you how to propagating them. So for the propagation, we need to have a cutting first. For now, that plant has been grown quite a lot, so I'm gonna cut there. So first things first, what you need to check is, does your plant already has some air root? And then that one is called node and air root. Here. And right now it has a couple of them, so from there to there, I'm gonna give it a cut. Every single plant foliage has a node, has a air root, so I will give a cut between the stem. So if there is a air root, instead of cutting close to air root, more go too far away from the air root. So literally, I'll say closer to the foliage side. So there. 1, 2, 3, and 4, like that. So we already got 4 cuttings. And then, because the other golden photo is also having grown quite a lot, that one, I'm gonna trim them one too. And in the same way, there 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. After you get some enough cutting, just prepare some water jar. And if you prepared, just put the cutting inside of the water. When you put the cuttings in the water for propagation, just try to make sure the air root can merge the water, but the foliage is not touching the water. So that's it. That's literally it. That's the way that how to do water propagating for those plant. So if you don't like that, all you need to do is just placing in a bright area to encourage them to having a more root quicker. Once they have a established root, then we just gonna transfer to the soil. So yes, that's pretty much everything for today's video. I hope your Devil's Ivy grow very well, and thank you for watching. I'll see you later.